I literally remember saying, leave your work or your home life at home because we need you focused on work. How does that got to change in our environment so we can normalize and reduce that stigma?
First off, Tim, I'm very passionate about this topic. I've spent a lot of time in the last 4 to 5 years working in different groups on mental health. And I think we can all agree we've got a mental health crisis going on right now. And I'm sure a lot of people in the audience, just like me, you've seen it up close and personal. You've seen what it does to families. And for generations, we've been telling our workforce to come to work. Now is union labor, and I understand stigma, right? But we were told you leave what's at home, and when you get to work, you put on the work hat and you turn all that off. And the reality is we all take work home every night, and we all take personal lives with us to work the next day. I mean, it's inevitable. We can't expect our people to do that. And additionally, just doing that time and again and expecting a different result is ridiculous. It's not working. We got to change something. So I want to kind of focus on 2 key areas. One is the risk of employers not embracing mental wellness. And the second piece is kind of the benefits to employers. So on this first piece, risk lagging indicators, it can be perceived as being somewhat negative information, but I come from Washington State, and I've been working in construction and safety for over 30 years. Now in Washington, we have a regulatory agency who partners with all of our industry associations and our safety groups, and they're regular attendees to our meetings. And they give us, unlike the BLS, they give us real-time trends and data around what's happening out there. And part of that, unfortunately, is fatalities on the job. So they've been tracking work-related fatalities from mental illness for a while now. And in 2018, they started breaking it out by industry. How many people know that construction has the highest rate of suicide of any industry by a long shot? So in the period in Washington between 2015 and 2021, that's 7 years of fatality data, we had 112 fatalities in all industries in Washington. Now that is broken into 3 subcategories. Mental health is broken into homicide on the job, suicide completed, and then accidental poisoning, which is another word for drug overdose. I looked at the data for construction, and from 2018 to 2022, we had 21 fatalities in this category, and 80% of them were suicide and or drug overdose. And a lot of times drug overdose is a form of suicide. So there's the negative, there's the reality to punch everybody in the teeth if you need it, is if we don't do something, this is happening. And I can tell you that I've seen on-the-job suicide, I've seen drug overdose on the job, and just last year we had a job where we had 2 workers who were concealing firearms on the job site, and they had issues for some reason, and on the job they pulled those firearms out and shot each other. This is happening. I mean, we see it on the news every day, right? So let's focus now a little bit on what the benefit is for the employers to embrace mental wellness, mental health. And I think there's so many benefits, but I only have a few minutes to talk about this, so I'm going to cut it kind of short here. Number one, I think that by us promoting mental health, and when I say promoting, I'm not talking about posters and banners. Sure, that's part of it, but if our plan to address mental health is just to post stuff, it's not going to work. I think a lot of us probably know that. We need to go much deeper than that. And if we're able to really focus on this, we're going to build better relationships with our employees. You heard the last group talk about the shortage of people. Well, I'm going to get into turnover a little bit. The last thing we want to do is to lose our talent. So the better that we support our employees, we know that's going to drive culture. And for many of us, I think we all know that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Companies with really strong cultures outperform other companies. And safety is part of that culture. Quality is part of that culture. Production is not a 4-letter word. It's part of that culture. Mental wellness, mental health is part of that. And in the safety profession, we're called EHS professionals, environmental health and safety. The health piece, when you agree, Tim, is becoming a much bigger part of our role on a regular basis.
You are absolutely correct.
Huge part of our role. And it's not just us, it's human resource people, it's operations folks, and it's leadership at all levels. They're having to deal with this on a daily basis. Hopefully they're choosing to deal with this on a daily basis. I think that the number one thing, my question was not how do we fix this, but I think that one thing we have to do is we have to make this safe. This is where it goes beyond the posters and the banners. We have to make it safe for our employees to come to us. And there's a lot of risk in an employee, somebody who works for us, coming to us saying, look, I'm really struggling with depression, or I have a drug addiction issue. And the reality is there's too much risk. So we have to create a culture of vulnerability, and as leaders, we need to emulate or model the behaviors we expect from people. And what that means is that we need to tell our employees the things that we're doing to be mental, to maintain our mental health. That may mean that we disclose that we have a therapist. It may mean that we tell them that when we get overwhelmed, we go for a walk at lunch, whatever it might be. We have to model it to make it safe, or they will come to work with those problems and they won't tell us. And then we find out later that they committed suicide in their hotel room or wherever it may have been. I think another big benefit of all of these things is that we decrease absenteeism. I think our employees become, their job satisfaction increases because they feel supported at an even deeper level. I think their engagement goes up quite a bit, and as a result, productivity goes up. So I look at that as a win-win-win across the board. And ultimately, again, going back to attrition, none of us want to lose our talent. It hurts to lose our good people because it's hard to find good people. So this is a fantastic way that we can continue to reduce employee attrition. And kind of in closing, I'd say that understanding the complexities of mental health in the workplace isn't just a professional necessity for us, it's a cornerstone for building resilient, innovative, and